Welcome to the What's Up Verdict podcast. We fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name's JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host Mattson.
Shout out to my boy Jaden Daniels. Let's go Commanders this year. Better red than dead.
And Alec Burgess.
Commanders never gonna win shit. Let's get it.
Hey, NFC. We went to the NFC Championship. We will be back. We have
one time the last 50 years.
Yeah, because we got rid of the tyrant Daniel Snyder, and we actually have life again.
Okay, yeah. I heard it all before. Remember, I grew up in San Diego. I was a Chargers fan. It never gets any better, dude. You just think it does.
We actually have a quarterback, though.
I would get in on this argument, but I'm a Browns fan, so it's no way to live. Did I introduce you, Alec? I think I did. Yeah, you argued that they'll never win. So yeah, there we are. Look, what a weird way to start, but I like it. We're in week 4, the final week of our war month of war movies. Yeah, and we're wrapping it up with an interesting one. We're kicking off with Hacksaw Ridge. It was released November 4th, 2016. It was written by Robert Schenkon, Andrew Knight. It was directed by Mel Gibson. Stars Andrew Garfield, Sam Worthington, Luke Bracey, Teresa Palmer, Richard Pyros, Jacob Warner, Darcy Bryce, James Lugton, Kasia Stelmack, Hugo Weaving, Rachel Griffiths, and Tyler Coppin. It is about, and there's a whole lot more in this that I'm just done reading names, but yeah, it's about a World War II American medic, Desmond Doss, serving during the Battle of Okinawa, refuses to kill people and becomes the first man in American history to receive the Medal of Honor without firing a shot. That's an in-depth synopsis there. But yeah, there's that one. Mattson, this was your pick, right?
This was my pick.
Tell us why.
Oh, why? This movie came out, I think, in like what you just said, 2016, right? Or roughly around there. This is one of those movies that I remember just hearing like, wow, like, have you seen Hacksaw Ridge? Like, you got to go see Hacksaw Ridge, at least in my sphere of influence. This is actually like the year before I met JJ, ironically enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember like the buzz around it. And I was like, well, seems like a movie that I would probably enjoy. And at the time, I knew who Andrew Garfield was. I think he had already played Spider-Man, right? At least once or twice. And so I liked him. I thought he was an actor that like I had some positive recollection of. I didn't know anything about the setting in this movie, but I like war movies. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a chance. I mean, when I remember watching it, it was interesting to me because he's a Seventh-day Adventist. So like the aspects of religion come into play, his morality, but then getting thrown into the face that you're in the army, you're really not going to take a shot, like really not going to do it. But then as he goes through camp, it's like, well, if you want to be a combat vet, I get you can be a liability because you're not going to take a life. But like, shoot, if you're a good one, like, can't that also work? And it was interesting to see the rigidity of the military. But then you start watching like, well, that's how they exactly would react, because this is also audacious for this person coming and say, I'm not going to shoot a freaking rifle. It's like, bro, like just pick up the rifle, pass the class. Maybe you never take another shot. Like you don't have to be this difficult. But it's two very obstinate organization and individual meeting coming together. And I thought that was really interesting, as I come from a faith that definitely like, we don't do stuff on a lot of things on Sundays. When he talked about my Sabbath is on the Saturday and like all that, you're like, oh, like here we go, like setting the line. Like, is he gonna give in? He got beat up. Is he gonna quit? So that was really interesting to me. The other thing that was funny to me is Vince Vaughn in this movie, who like, I don't think up until this movie, I'd never seen him play anything that wasn't a comedic role. I honestly don't think I've seen him in anything since. And sure he has, but I just haven't seen him. So it was weird to see him in that role. It was like when the guy that plays Ross in Friends,
Yeah.
I don't remember what's his actual name, whatever it is, when
David Schwimmer.
When he was in Band of Brothers as the same type of role as Vince Vaughn. I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me! They like this is the same type. They took someone funny and put him in like a very serious role.
Yeah.
And it's not like I just remember seeing that. I was like, oh, this is weird. I never thought that. And then the actual subject matter of the movie, once they get to Hacksaw Ridge, that's where I think this movie actually shines. I think some of the lead up to this movie, it's kind of lukewarm for me. It's a little bit of a slow, like it is a slow burn. I have to admit, like the thing with his the girl that he ends up marrying and like the family dynamic, like I don't know, like it didn't hit home for me as much. But once you got to the actual like war scenes and like putting his morality to the test and actually seeing what he did, incredible. I thought they depicted what actually happened there. I thought it was captivating, interesting, and just incredible. Like that's really what he did. My God, like damn, like amazing. Wow. Like I thought that was awesome. I just think leading up to it, to me, left a definitely some to be desired. I'm happy I watched it. I think it was interesting. Definitely an incredible story. I'm glad that they told it. Different type of war movie though, because it showed the goriness and grittiness of war, but from a lens of this is a person that didn't fight, but here's what he did. So it was a long-winded way to say just thought it was a different type of war movie, and I wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah. What about you, Alec? Had you seen this before, or is this a?
No, I'd seen it before. It's another tricky one because of Mel Gibson. Right. So I think Mel Gibson makes phenomenal movies. I don't think he should be allowed anywhere near anything historical, or not be allowed to make any kind of call on a movie about history, because he makes very, very good movies, but he takes the book and just kind of throws it out the window. And the annoying part for me, right, is that he went around and he would say like, oh yeah, we toned down this movie from the heroics, which is usually the reverse, right? Usually you take something, you kind of build out promotion in Hollywood. He's like, nope, this guy was so cool, we had to make it worse for TV, or for movies, so it'd be believable. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
All right, first of all, why? And then similar to Mattson, Vince Vaughn throws me for a loop. He does a phenomenal job playing the character. But the entire time it feels wrong. And you get to the point like I get in Basic, right, where you kind of first get introduced to him, and he's just going up and down the line, a little bit reminiscent of Full Metal Jacket and Private Idiot, and kind of there's a knife in my foot and all that funny stuff. That's very Vince Vaughn, but it's at odds with almost the entire rest of the character, and he's trying almost to play it this serious way. And so that throws me for a loop. But the movie is phenomenal. Like, I love this movie, and I think it's a very good one to watch. But I don't think Mel Gibson should be allowed to direct historical movies in any way, shape, or form.
It's funny. I just think Mel Gibson shouldn't be allowed to speak in public. Like that guy can't, because I'm with you. Like I think he's a phenomenal movie maker and actor, but when he says things outside of being scripted, just stop. No, yeah, look, I was very happy that this made the list, because like this was a sleeper for me. I like war movies, but I'm very careful with them because I think sometimes they get made too often. At least they used to. It's been a while since I've seen a strong war movie, but I also tend to like, I'm very skeptical going in, because like focusing on one person in a war, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. But I will say this is one of those movies, and Mattson, to your point, like it's kind of a slow burn for a while. Like you're like, man, there's a lot of like lead up to this movie and build up. But I think what this movie does very well is like the payoff. Like if you didn't have, look, I've gone back and I've watched YouTube for like videos of like the last of him pulling everybody out, right? And it gets you, but it gets me because I've seen the rest of it already, right? And I think like that's one of those things where this movie, as good as the end is, whether you watch the rest of it or not, like if you watch his achievements during this battle on Hacksaw Ridge, it will get you like motivated, and like you're like, wow, this is insane, and look at what this guy's doing. But if you watch the whole movie, it's even better, because you see that one, the struggle that he goes through to be able to still be a soldier and yet have permission to not carry a rifle. It's a lot. And all of these people, there's very few, if any, that are actually supportive of him. Like, even to the point of his dad, like, being an absolute dick, right? Like, so it's like nobody's supportive of what he's trying to do. And yet it's all these people that aren't supportive that he's pulling off this mountain at the end. So it's like watching that happen to me is like, I was like, man, this is slower than dog shit. The first time I watched him in the theater going, this is slow. When are we going to see some more? And then I went, holy shit, without that, this would have been great, but it's unreal good.
It's because of those scenes of him getting beaten up, the struggle with his commander. Gosh, why am I forgetting that?
Sam Worthington. I don't know his.
Yeah, his commander. What's his name? Captain Glover.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Smitty. Sergeant Hal, like all, and some of the other people that are part of the company that the names don't remember as much. Like, you can see the disrespect they had for him, and they did a really good job building that, showing that. And even when they got there, like, they're still just like, I don't know. And then he starts to do what he does, and you can just see, like, in their eyes, like, wow, like, Doss is the shit. And then the scene where the day they go back, they're waiting for him to pray, and who knows if that actually happened or not, whether it did or didn't in real life. I'm sure there's something similar to that. And you knew, like, you're like, they all believe in this dude because they think he's a walking miracle. And clearly what miracle, karma, you got the luck of 10,000 rabbit feet. I don't care what you believe in that point. You wanted that dude on your side, and it all paid off because of the way that they showed. I think what didn't land for me as much was more like the PG romance with Dorothy, that I just, like, I don't know, like, I get why she was a part of it, clearly very important to his identity and his motivation, but the way that they portrayed it, that part just didn't have as much of the payoff for me. But the rest of it, you needed it, because without understanding his struggle and the way that he went through it, like JJ said, like, it would have been, I mean, still riveting on the screen, but it wouldn't have landed in the emotional way that it did, because he went above and beyond the call of duty for people that didn't want anything to do with him, and he did it because he just knew that was his duty. And also just the sheer, like, you're doing all that and you've got these soldiers on the other side that will literally just kill you and themselves at the same time, and you're just running amongst the clouds and the smoke and making it happen. Like, I love the scenes in the tunnels, because that's how the Japanese survived a lot more, because they built those intricate tunnels. Amazing. Like, he could have died so many. I mean, they showed, I'm sure if you interviewed him, I'm sure he probably could have died like 20 times. Who knows how many times. And I'm glad they showed some of that, because I'm sure he came close to death multiple times.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, and I think this is another movie. We've had a few of them this month where, like, the cast is unreal. And so, like, the acting is good. And to your point, like, it's weird seeing Vince Vaughn. I will say that he was in a season of True Detective where he was like a bad guy kind of thing, and that was even weirder to get used to. I don't think
he was bad, though.
No, he was phenomenal in it. Like, it just was odd. Like, it's like watching a football player play basketball. It just doesn't feel right. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that they're bad at basketball. They're probably really good at it. And so he acts as, and I, like, one of my favorite parts is at the end when he's saving, when Doss is saving him and he's like, give me your rifle. He's like, it's a little late now, don't you think? Like, I love that line to me is one of the best. And then he looks at him funny and rolls it up in the blanket and tells him to get on.
I wanted that blanket scene. I'm sure it wasn't real, but damn, I was like, man, I wanted that to be like 100% real, because that looked cool. I was like, whoever came up with that, way to go. That was cool.
Yeah, where he's like dragging his ass and shooting. Yeah, that was cool. The whole thing is just wild. And then, there's these moments like where you can tell, like, this dude has to be unbelievably exhausted, because, like, it's not a little ways that he's traveling, carrying these guys, dragging these guys. You got to worry about being quiet and getting in a fight and, like, or getting, all that stuff, like, and then tying them up and then, like, holding the rope. Like his hands had to have been just pure raw.
How many calories did he burn? That's what I
Dude.
want to know.
Don't
Crazy.
forget, he was like 110 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah, he wasn't a big guy.
No, it was not a big deal. Like human, and they weren't dead, but human beings that are like basically dead weight, like it's a rough life.
Yeah,
to move them.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I look, Andrew, what's his
Garfield.
Garfield does an outrageously good job in this role. And I think the scene for me, like when he's all done and he jumps off the rope at the end and he with the other dude and like the guys come up and try to grab him and he like loses his shit. Like to me, that moment is so poignant because you're like, yeah, dude, he's got to be horrified. Like the amount of like on edge and like in fear all the time he was for however many hours he was up on that mountain dragging people off. Like, good Lord, I can't even imagine. And then what's even more batshit is like 2 days later or a day later, whatever it is, he goes back up. You know what I mean? And it's like, geez, what the hell? So, it's interesting where the juxtaposition, if you will, of the two movies that we've reviewed the last 2 weeks. Like you have The Deer Hunter, which is like, there's no heroism. I mean, there is, right? There's the moment of Mike saving everybody and like they jailbreak, but like there's no feel good about that because even though they escape, like it's not like they escaped anything good. Here, like it's almost the exact opposite. You're watching something very similar where it's this escape and he's saving people, but you're like full of this like motivation and you're like, yeah, like rooting for, and so it's wild how you can take two very desperate situations that are very similar in what's happening in the situation that they're in, and yet two very different aspects of it and very different viewpoints. And so I really enjoy this one because you come away going, and let's be honest, this movie doesn't end very well either. Like, because he goes back up and gets half blown away. So it's just like, what the shit? But at the same time, like the understanding of why he's doing what he's doing is just epic to me. Like that's why like there's like I get all sorts of like amped up when I watch this movie, and like even as hard and sad as it is, like you can't help but just have that reverence for whatever he actually did, whether it was accurately portrayed in the movie or not. Like if he did that with one guy, that's the shit, right? Like so anyway. Go ahead, Alec. You look like you were about to say something.
Oh, no. I was just agreeing with everything you said. You can hit the nail on the head.
Gotcha. I like it. Yeah, I think, that's, to me, one of the craziest pieces of this movie is, like, just the fact that you're watching something that, even if they make it outlandish compared to the real story, like, the fact that it's rooted in some level of truth, like, I want to know more about this guy and, like, his motivations and what happened to him after, and like all that stuff to me is just wild because I would not be this dude. You know what I mean? I'd be the dude like I'd be giving this dude hell. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't want to fight with you if you don't got a gun. Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Like, I'd be pissed.
Oh, we all would. It's so easy to think, oh, you'd be the person to understand. I'm a nice human being, but I'm sure I'd have been a dick too. Yeah. I know you two would have been. That's
absolutely.
Dude, you know how problematic that dude is, like from a leadership standpoint.
Oh,
like at the squad level, like fuck, I got Desmond Doss.
Yeah. God.
Like just the hoops you'd have to jump through from a leadership standpoint, trying to figure out what to do with this guy. Just would not be.
Yeah. Alec froze. I love it when Alec freezes. He's back.
Yeah, I froze. I was done anyway.
That's funny. No, and I think about it from like a guy, if you're in the trenches with this dude and you got a gun and people are shooting at you and he's laying there, I'd be like, listen, motherfucker, I'm just going to go ahead and shoot you so I don't have to feel like I got to take care of your ass, right? Like, to me, like, I can't imagine, not to mention your own personal mentality of, I'm going to go to war without a weapon. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Like, the balls that you need to like decide you're going to do that. Like, I can't even fathom. Like, I talk to my friends who are vets. I watch war movies and I go, I wouldn't make it in war in a fucking tank. You know what I mean? Let alone like out in the open as an infantryman with a weapon, and then you say, you know what? I don't need a weapon. I'm just going to go save people. I don't have that kind of balls. I don't have that kind of bravery.
Well, the other flip of the coin of that, right, is being able to be a battlefield medic. Like,
True.
That shit isn't easy either, especially in the Pacific, because Japanese soldiers saw the Red Cross and like, ooh, target practice.
Yeah.
like it's not a fun experience. You're probably attracting a lot more.
It's not fun when you're like, when he realizes at the beginning they show it, he's like trying to save everybody, and then the guy that's been in combat a lot is like, I'll just give morphine and move on. And how many times do they have to do that? Probably way too many times. You're basically just accepting people are dying all the time.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, and
crazy.
for a guy like that, that's
it's like his worst nightmare. He's just trying to do his duty, but the dude he's like a little baby rabbit. He doesn't want to be out. He don't want to be out there doing that. He just wants to be back with Dorothy doing his thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. Like, you think about a medic, not only that, even you take the patch off, you're trying to patch somebody up, gunfire going off, bombs exploding, grenades going out. Like, fuck that. I want to be in a hole with a gun, and I'm not even looking. Just putting the fuck, you know what I mean? Like,
JJ's out there doing a little pew pew pew.
Yeah,
pew.
I'm no scoping, dude. I'm just
JJ's got a Twinkie, and he's just.
That's right. I can't even look. I'm just not that guy. Like, I'm the guy that'll sit in a trailer with a remote control in my hand, flying a freaking drone. Like, that's my kind of war. If I gotta do it, that's how I want it to be. I just can't. And I think that's where some of my obsession with like war movies and like war stories, like when I used to ask my grandpa, and he didn't talk too much. He was in the Korean War. He didn't talk a lot, but I could get him to tell me some stories, very little about any kind of battle until I was a little older. But I'm infatuated with hearing that because I can't grasp that mentality of like, I'm going to go fight for other people and stuff. I'm a freaking narcissistic prick. I don't have that in me. You know what I mean? So it really does intrigue me, and it's interesting to me when I go, I see soldiers that are like this, especially, or any level of this, where it's like, no, it's my, I want to defend, I want to do this. I'm like, man, you are a better person than me.
Why JJ would just be better as an assassin and not part of a unit. They would the psyche battle, same thing with that. They'd be like, yeah, like we can keep you, but we're gonna send you on special assignments by yourself, because with people you ain't gonna help that guy, especially with Alec. They'd be like, no, buddy.
They just put me as a minesweeper. That's what they would do, and just walk out in the field.
Yeah, or I mean, I think I could be a sniper, where I'm just sitting in like a sniper's nest, laying there taking people out. You know what I mean? Like, but that's
except you'd have Cheeto fingers, Jay, and you'd slip on the trigger though.
That's fair. That's fair. It's very true. It's very true. Yeah, I couldn't. It's just and I certainly couldn't be like an infantryman. Like, I couldn't be front lines, freaking charging in. Like, fuck that. I'd be the dude that'd be like, well, he's funny, but we don't want his ass next to us when we go to war. I'm the epitome of like, if a bear's chasing me and a buddy, you better hope you can run faster than me, or you miss me tripping your ass.
I'm not even going to tell you there's a bear. I'm just going to start running.
Fuck's wrong with Alec? Fuck. Oh shit. We've had that conversation before. What was I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. I want to go back and listen to the episode where one of the earlier episodes, Mattson and especially Javier and even Ian were all like butthurt because I was like, fuck no, I wouldn't save your asses. Oh shit. Yeah, I love you guys, but not so much.
Nope.
I like
between me and someone else, I am picking me every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hilarious. Oh man, yeah, this movie's really, really interesting to me, and I think it tells a really good story that I didn't know even existed before this movie. And so these are the kinds of movies that and stories that I'm glad get told, You know what I mean? Because they're things that I would have never even known about
Oh,
if
yeah.
someone hadn't decided to do it.
I had no idea, but you see a sign, you're like, how is this not like? How are people not talking about this? But there's enough of these things that they get lost in translation. But like, thank goodness,
Yeah.
Well, that and Desmond Doss didn't say anything for like 50 years.
Yeah.
He just went back to the backwoods of Virginia.
That's what I'd have done too.
And chilled.
Well, I don't know. Like, for me, it's like surprising that more of the people that he saved didn't talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe it's a respect thing because they understood who Doss was and kind of like what he wanted from life and things like that. So it wasn't a matter of we're going to talk about it.
It had to be that. Yeah. It could have been the only thing because otherwise, people like he's a legend. Yeah, he didn't kill 75 people, but as you come to understand these things more, saving a life is just as good as taking a life, and it had to be something like that because otherwise, how are they not writing more books? How are there not more news articles? Yeah, it had to be. That's like to me the only explanation.
That and that in World War II, like it's not like everybody had a phone that I mean.
Well, yeah, but like.
But
I feel like you still would have read about this, like in the newspapers and things. Like I think he must have. I feel like he probably just told him, like, look, like, just keep it quiet.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't think. Obviously, he's not a guy that's gonna want the fame, right? Like he was doing this for altruistic reasons. Like I think that's the argument that you watch in the movie, right? Where he's like, no, I want to serve just like everyone else. I don't want out of this. I just want to do it on my own terms and in my own way. And so like being able to do that then, and to his credit, like it also creates a controversial thing. Like people are going to come home and go, great, he saved a bunch of people, but still other people follow suit, right? And not everyone's going to be a Desmond Doss, right? Like not everyone's going to be capable of having that level of courage and restraint and understanding. And like, because I mean that's the other piece. Like I think about myself too, and I'm like, I'm gonna put my feet in the sand, right? And I'm gonna be like, I'm doing this, and then someone starts pew-pewing at my ass, and nope, give me that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden I'm not so strong in my will and beliefs here, so like yeah,
you know what? Maybe a gun isn't such a bad thing. Give me.
Yeah. Did you bring an extra? Because otherwise, I'm going to trip your ass and take it. Because I don't want to be without it anymore. Yeah, it's so interesting to me, and I think that's like the most impressive part. Like he, of course, saving people, but we hear about those that did carry weapons that saved a lot of people in wars and situations. So necessarily saving people, while that's very awesome and it's amazing, I think the thing that really stands out to me and is even more awesome about Desmond Doss is the fact that not only did he stick to his principles and the things that drove him and the reasoning behind why he wanted to do what he wanted to do and the way he wanted to do it, but he followed through on it, right? It wasn't like he caved. It wasn't, to me, that's almost more brave than say. I think any of the soldiers that felt they were capable would have tried to save people, right? In those situations, at least most of the soldiers, I think, would try. Maybe not to that extent, but like the fact that he still stood by what his values were and what he decided he wanted to do, like that takes a heap of bravery, I think, more than even a lot of other.
Oh yeah, he literally, it's the age-old thing of like would you still believe in God if you had a gun to your head type thing, whatever, you put yourself in another scenario. He essentially did, and he didn't back down. And I think it's real easy to sit here in a chair and say, "Oh, like that wouldn't have been me." I think if anyone's really true, he's the 1% of 1%. Everybody's changing what they're doing, their tactic, in the face of danger like that. I don't care who you are. I don't know anyone that wouldn't. I'm sure if I had a gun in my head and they asked me if I believe in God, like, man, I'd sure like to think I would say yes. And then I think about my family. I'm like, well, if I lie here and I believe in God, like he's going to say it's okay. Or like, I don't know. It's just like stuff like that. But this dude, I'm sure he would have died. I have no doubts about that. He would be like, I do. He gone. because
Yeah.
what he did there up on that ridge, Hundo P. He's saying he's gone. I don't know anybody like that.
Yeah, I don't either. Not me. It ain't me. I ain't that dude.
Like, I'm more altruistic than both of my co-hosts, but I ain't that dude either. Not even close.
Yeah, I'm not that dude. Nope. All right, should we rate this thing?
Let's do it.
All right, Mattson, your movie kicks off.
I'm gonna give this movie a 4.5. I think the only reason it's not a 5 for me is just the beginning. Like, Mel Gibson made this choice for it to be PG-13 to appeal more to the Christian crowd, to get more people to see it, and I understand why, and I think that's great. But I think he would have preferred it to be R, and I think he would like the scenes with Vince Vaughn being the drill sergeant and like the more the PG love story. Not that I needed to have like sex on screen, but like just more of the same type of movie from start to finish would have been a little bit more cohesive. This movie is just a little bit of a slower burn, but like we talked about, you need it. I just think it detracts from it a little bit. But once you get into the meat of this movie, especially the end, like, what an incredible payoff. This will be a movie I will watch again. I've seen this movie a few times. Always happy that I do. What an incredible story. If you have not seen this movie, just watch it. Like, great story, inspiring, so much different than last week's movie. Like, this movie makes you feel good and ask yourself, like, can I do more in my life? And great movie. Go watch.
Yeah. Alec.
I've never asked if I could do more in my life. But yeah, I'm going to be right there with Mattson, 4.5. And what docks it for me is Mel Gibson taking the story, and instead of making it seem larger than life, he actually brought it back. And he like changed the story to make it more believable and realistic for people. And it's like, dude, you had the opportunity with a story that's larger than life. Nobody's going to believe it. And it's all true. And instead you decided, hey, I'm gonna reel it in a little bit. Like that bugs me a lot, because it leaves the door open of what this could have been to actually show a more historically accurate version of what Desmond Doss did. But aside from that, like I talked about it right off the bat, Mel Gibson can make a good movie, or really good movie. He just should not be allowed anywhere near history. But yeah, 4.5 for me. I will watch this again. I always love to sit down and watch it. The slow burn doesn't really bother me so much, because it kind of follows a story and a progression. I'm all about that. So I will be watching this again 100%.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be right there with you guys. 4.5. Like, I want to give it a 5, but for me, like, there are some places where it feels, there are pieces of the story that feel forced. And I think that may come from what you're talking about, Alec, where like it feels understated in a lot of areas, and where it, to me, it should feel bigger and more pronounced. And so I'm like, that's just, it feels weird. Like, there are scenes that I'm like, this just doesn't fit. And then when you get to the end, you're like, that really doesn't fit. Like, it almost like waters him down to a certain degree all the way through the movie. And then you get this big payoff. And I'm like, I would have loved to have seen the obstinate version of Desmond Doss from beginning to end, versus just this, like, always too kind, always just very soft spoken. He, like, if you've read anything about him post watching this movie, he was, but he wasn't. Like, he was also very outspoken, and he was very, it wasn't just, I'll speak out when I need to. It was, he was very vocal, very loud about the fact that this is my right. And he was argumentative about it. And I want to do this. So I don't like that he made him almost small and then made him larger than life at the end. Like, I get why they did it. And I think, like I said, I'm not criticizing the movie itself, but I don't think it would have been a worse movie. I think it would have been just as good, if not better, if they had like full on made this guy like who he was from start to finish. And anyway, so I'm with you. Like, I think it just felt, there were moments that it felt weird. Overall, though, amazing movie. And like I said, the last 45 minutes of this movie is some of the most awe-inspiring shit on film, in my opinion. And the way that it's plays out, and you see it and you hear it and you watch it, like, I am always just riveted and like can't take my eyes off the screen. And then I get all like emotional and like hyped up at the same time, and then like sad. It's wild, the roller coaster that is the end of this movie. And especially the first time, because you're like, holy shit, is he gonna take a hit?
Yeah.
Is he gonna? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Private Doss is like the Rambo of medics.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy, and I think it's really good movie. I will definitely watch it anytime. I really like it. I like the performances, not just from Andrew Garfield. Like, I think there's a lot of really, really good acting in this from Hugo Weaving as Tom Doss. Like, just was really stood out to me as well as like this mirror image almost of his son, like where he's has no real conviction anymore, and you know what I mean, he's just kind of a broken guy, versus Desmond, who's just like he has everything that he's trying to do and do it right. So I love that. So yeah, 4.5 for me. Really, really good film. Hi, bud. Cute kid.
You
All
say
right.
JJ? You say JJ? No? You don't want to say it?
JJ.
Yeah,
You said it.
that's
you
right.
You say Alec?
Hi.
Hey, you got in on it this time, buddy.
Ayo.
I was waiting for the
I was expecting to read.
Yeah. He's like, there's food over there.
Yeah.
All right, Alec, well, tell everybody where they can find us, man.
Happy to. Well, this wraps up our month of war movies. As advertised and promised, there was no other correlation aside from war movies. However, in picking our topics and our movies, I think we both realized, or I think we all realized, that there is a ton of options out there for maybe a follow-up month of war movies.
Yeah.
So if you want that to happen, or even several follow-ups, there's plenty of stuff out there. So join us on Patreon at What's Our Verdict Reviews. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know topics, and then let us know your picks for the topics that we do pick. Special thanks to Rich and Charles for setting us on the path with this war movie month. Really appreciate it. But with that, I will kick it back to the Titan of Terror, the Maharaja of MASH. Good call, Banks. JJ.
That's right. Thanks, Alec. And yeah, we have our honorary fourth member, Banks, on the episode this week. We like it. Check him out. Yeah, it was a good month. I like this month. It was very random, very all over the place, and yet a lot of good movies and a lot of interesting
Right
takes.
before
So,
we usher in summertime.
that's right. That's right. It's crazy. June is, yeah. All right. Well, anyway, with that, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinemagica.
Whoa!